I am very happy to hear and speak few encouraging words at this workshop on downstream petroleum industry organized by the PUCL with special emphasis on supply, quality, pricing and regulatory issues as the keynote speaker. I convey my sincere thanks to Chairman and members of the Commission for taking the initiative to hold this workshop, which is in my opinion is timely and fulfilling a long-felt need of the country. This is very important as in the present day scenario, the government is interested in developing our own upstream petroleum industry, utilizing our own gas and oil resources, which is not an easy task as we do not have necessary technology nor the huge capital investment that are needed for such a large scale project. However, as I have talked in many instances, we need to regulate the downstream petroleum industry in a more transparent and logical manner which suit our own needs and requirements. We all know at the moment our pricing mechanism and regulatory environment of the industry is not satisfactory. Dear friends, let me now say a few words about the present day industry scenario with respect to both local and global environment. In the local context, petroleum plays a major role in the energy supply in Sri Lanka and contributes 37% of the total primary energy supply. In 2013, Sri Lanka imported 1.75 million metric tons of crude oil and 2.36 million metric tons of refined petroleum products. Petroleum imports take up approximately 25% of total import bill and 55% of the total export bill of the country, and proper management of this sector is vital for the economic well-being of the country. If we continue to grow even in the rate, I am sure our import earnings will not be sufficient to meet the demand for petroleum products. Furthermore, it is evident that existing practices of the downstream industry needs careful study and improvement in many areas where PUCSL can play a major role in making necessary legislative and operational changes. In the global context, petroleum industry has two major problems. One problem it is facing is that petroleum resource is an exhaustible resource and the current proven deposits will only be able to meet demand until mid of this century. And we need to look for new technologies where one can minimize the usage and more efficient methods of consuming this valuable natural resource. In addition, we need to find new technologies, alternatives and more sustainable fuels to meet our future energy requirement without depending on fossil fuels. The second biggest problem we are now facing with is the issue of global warming due to emission of greenhouse gases and result in disastrous environmental consequences. Dear friends, see what happens the volcanic eruption in Chile and the most recent earthquake near Kathmandu in Nepal. We cannot isolate these incidents anymore as natural random events, and all these has direct correlation with the destructive nature of the mankind. However, it is interesting to note that mostly responsible for these dramatic consequences are the developed world that have no regard for the environmental consequences when they are developing since the advent of industrial revolution. Now only they have realized the gravity of the problem and now only trying to limit the environmental consequences of burning fossil fuels. When looking back at what happened in Kathmandu a few days ago, this earthquake has happened near two converging tectonic plates, that is Eurasian and Indian plates. Therefore, the gradual change in readjustment in these tectonic plates will change the gravity of the whole region, result in many environmental consequences. And also Kathmandu Valley, it's a plateau, is situated in such a way that retreating ice caps will create a complete inundation of the valley. Therefore, melting of glaciers and ice caps in the Himalayas will result in complete destruction of this ancient city. On the other hand, 1/3 of the Bangladesh may go under sea due to excessive floods created by melting of Himalayan ice caps. Now coming back to the global situation, petroleum contributes 33% of the total energy consumption and 93 million barrels per day, while the total world oil production is 94 million, approximately 94 million barrels per day, according to the US EIA data. The price of oil has dropped from US dollars 100 per barrel in early 2014 to about US dollars 55 today. This is mainly due to imbalance between production and consumption. It is stated that the production glut started with newly developed hydraulic fracking operation in the United States, which developed so-called tight oil trapped in shale rock formation. In the past, when supply exceeded demand, OPEC countries curtailed production to keep the price steady. However, in this instance, OPEC, led by Saudi Arabia, refused to cut production, leading to a present oversupply. It is generally believed that Saudi Arabia wants to retain its market share while discouraging fracking operation in US. New investment in fracking is not viable if oil is below US $60 per barrel and fracking operation already in progress became unviable below US $50 per barrel. OPEC will currently produce 36.7 million barrels per day, has excess production capacity of 2 million barrels per day. Hence, until there is a substantial reduction in US oil production and oil prices may remain at current level. Current low oil prices greatly benefit countries like Sri Lanka, dependent on important fuel. However, we must prudently use this window of opportunity provided by low oil prices to develop other energy resources, anticipating an upward swing in oil prices in near future. Nevertheless, all the indications are there so that this drop in world oil prices is a temporary phenomenon and the prices will upsurge eventually, giving developing economies a brutal blow, as developing nations like Sri Lanka cannot control world oil trade as we are not big time producers or consumers. Now let me come back to our industry situation with regard to the distribution of petroleum products in the country. Petroleum industry, which was a state-owned monopoly, was gradually liberalized, starting with the LPG in 1993, followed by lubricant and bunker supply, ending up with the partial liberalization of the petroleum fuel market in 2003. Today, beside the state-owned CPC, there are a number of players in petroleum fuel, lubricant, bunker and LPG market. The industry is currently governed by the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation Act number 28 of 1961 and Petroleum Products Special Provision Act number 33 of 2002. These acts, formulated basically to govern the public sector monopoly, is not equipped to regulate liberalized industry involving a large number of market players. Prices have been arbitrarily fixed by the CPC or the government without taking into consideration the fluctuating oil prices in the international market. While upward movement of the international oil prices was passed on to the consumer if it is politically and economically beneficial, downward movements of price were not passed on. In my view, we must take appropriate action such that not to give undue burden to the consumer with inflated cost. Yet the utility must also generate sufficient revenue for investment in developing infrastructures such as refineries, storage facilities and pipeline systems. Hence, a transparent cost-reflective pricing mechanism would benefit both the consumer and the utility. We all know that government has taken necessary action to reduce excessive taxes imposed on petroleum products. A cost-reflective, transparent pricing formula based on international market prices will be introduced soon. With the formula, consumers would be privy to break down on various cost components such as cost of product in the international market, freight and insurance cost, government taxes and marketing margin. The marketing establishment would not be able to hide their inefficiencies in the future, as every action and activity will be scrutinized by an independent regulatory body. No longer will those institutions be able to pass unreasonable costs to the consumer. In the infrastructure area, we are now burdened with the aging and inefficient facilities such as refinery, pipeline system and storage facilities, development and modernization of which have been long overdue. Sapukaskanda Oil Refinery was constructed in 1969, while it produced 100% of the country's requirement of refined petroleum products until about 1990. Today, it can only supply 30% of the refined products of consumption. Because of the outdated process in the refinery, it cannot produce environmentally friendly fuels required by modern vehicle fleet. While need to modernizing and upgrading of the refinery has been recognized for quite some time, no action has taken to implement it. As per Energy Sector Development Plan, we are taking action to initiate refinery upgrading and modernization project at an estimated cost of 1.3 billion US dollars. The configuration of the refinery will be changed from current hydro skimming type of cracking type refinery, where low value furnace oil is upgraded into high value petrol and diesel. The project is estimated to be completed in about 4 years. Once the project is completed, refinery would be able to produce country's total requirement of refined products. With the modernization, the refinery would be able to produce more environmentally friendly products. Currently, refinery produce automotive diesel with sulfur content of 2,500 parts per million. This would be reduced to 50 parts per million after the modernization. Gasoline and diesel will meet Euro 4 and Euro 3 quality standards will be introduced to the market. Some of the existing pipeline systems are over 8 years old, and maintenance of these has been neglected, leading to frequent leaks during operation, causing large losses to the state. Due to the reduced pumping rates on this pipeline, often demurrage is incurred during imports. A project has been initiated to rehabilitate cross-country pipelines from Cornwall to port, an estimated cost of US $40 million. Due to this scenario, we imported 70% of our petroleum requirement as refined products. There have been many shortcomings in the oil procurement process leading to corruption. Oil has been purchased on short-term basis from the spot market, paying large premiums. Actions have now been taken to streamline the oil procurement process with proper systems and procedures in place, making the process transparent. Serious issues have been surfaced relating to the product quality, some of which are linked to the shortcomings of the procurement process. Actions have been initiated to improve the product procurement and upgrading of the refinery to ensure that quality products are marketed. In this sphere, legally impossible minimum quality standards for petroleum products need to be established. Lack of independent laboratory facilities for testing petroleum is also a major concern for us. In the absence of regulator, our consumers have no recourse if substandard products are marketed. Dear friends, petroleum will not play a dominant role in the future as envisaged by the recently launched 10-year development plan of the energy sector. Main emphasis of the plan is on developing indigenous renewable energy resources in order to reduce dependence on the imported fossil fuel. However, development of recently discovered natural gas resources in Mana Basin is a priority. 2 gas discoveries, Dorado and Barracuda, it's a moderate type, have been made in Mana Basin with potential of 2 trillion cubic feet of gas. Commercialization of Dorado gas discovery is planned. After gathering gas from seabed deposits, the gas will be sent to the processing facility to be constructed at Norachole, and purified natural gas to be transported via pipeline to power generating plants there in Colombo. It is envisaged that natural gas will be available to use for our thermal power plants by 2020. In conclusion, I wish that this workshop will be a success, an outcome of which will be presented to the policymakers for necessary action. I thank you.